and welcome to our presentation. In here we're gonna be presenting the team LIB. Our team, it is part of LSLP. This is a research community in constant growth. So now the team LIB, our name, it is Language as Victory. But before we get into the name, let's get into the members. We are composed by 13 members and 1 faculty member. All these researchers, they started as gamers, then they started to study languages to become researchers, and then they become gamers researchers. What is important in here, it is in this group we have all the ranges of gamers. We have categories for those, and we started with amateurs, with hardcore gamers, and professional gamers. What is great about our group, it is that we have almost each one from every category. What we said about hardcore gamers, it is about the time that they spend playing and the income that they have learned about their playing. We try to gather all the information from the communities and interactions that we have between languages and games. And I think that in here we gathered all that information. As we have from the professional gamers, we are getting all the income that they have from the tournaments, the communities, and what's more important, the interaction between the gamers. And so it is from the amateur and also the one that we have that it is not professional. So now let's talk about our name. It is LAB, Language as Victory. And it came because we as gamers that have become researchers, we have found a really good key in languages inside games. And it's just that we have realized that inside the gaming, language becomes a tool to overcome the difficulties. In the interactions that these gamers have, they are also interchanging languages, and by that communication, they get improving their gaming. So we started to realize that the interactions that languages have inside the gaming can be used in order to improve the teaching, and not only the teaching, the learning about the languages. We are using all these communities and all these forums in order to understand what's the part that language has in the games and how we can take that into our praxis. We are also making the research about how these communities have been built up, how they are progressing, and how they are moving step forward to improving your gaming, because the idea of using the languages inside the game is not to learn about the language. It is mere to improve your gaming. So we are taking all the motivation that the gamer has in order to get better into the game and use that interaction to realize that the languages can be learned in different contexts, and that gives some value. So that is why we have dared to coin Language as Victory into our project, because we do realize the importance of language interactions in order to overcome every difficulty. Because the idea of this, it is not to improve your gaming, it is for us as teachers to improve our praxis, and for learners to realize that language can not only be learned in a classroom, and that every environment can bring something into improving in our learning of any language. Alright, so let's talk about our conceptual framework. We have divided it into 5 categories: isotypes, lore, game identity, interactions, and game spaces. First, we said isotypes. You might not recognize it by this word, but it is universal. And it is those icons that we can recognize everywhere, that they become universal, and at certain points you do not even know which it is about, but you have seen it everywhere. For example, let's get the icon of Android. The icon, you can recognize it everywhere, and as it is universal, it becomes an isotype. Inside the game, there are thousands of isotypes that this gamer community understands and recognizes everywhere. And they are not only icons, they are started by phrases, they can also create codes, they are created a full command that they can recognize inside their communities. So it is not only global, it is also individual for the community, their role, but yet they are still isotypes. Now, talking about gaming identity, we need to realize that when a person starts to playing a game or several games during several hours, they have developed an identity inside the game. And it is not only the character or the features that they add to the character, as the suit or the hair look. It is more about the identity that they develop inside that virtual reality. That it is the identity of gamer that we have to highlight in our project and that we put so much to it, because it is as value as it sounds. A gamer identity can prove that inside the game you are a whole new person and that you are worth to try anything else. When you're learning a language, you are fear of what you might be losing or how you can be mistaken. But inside a game, you can try over and over again, and that gives the opportunity of the person to feel free and to start practicing different things. That's some features that we have to take into account about the gamer identity. Another feature that we highlight from the gamer identity is the one that we have developed ourselves as researchers. And it is that as a gamers, we have learned to overcome difficulties in a divergent way. It is just to look where no one is looking, to look for the secret loop, or to find clues where they are not. And we try to gather that into language learning and of course language teaching. Another part of our conceptual framework, it is the lore. And the lore is everything that has to do with the story inside the game, where they come from, what is the universal idea of that game, and all that information that starts to become like a story. Because at the end of the day, the gamer has to know that story in order to understand the game and to take advantage of what clues are inside the story of the game. When we do research about the interactions, we are merely talking about the virtual reality when they are playing, when they are using these commands, these phrases, or these made up words in order to get advantage of the enemy. So for example, when they say AFK, away from keyboard, these little commands, it may not seem like, but they give those few seconds that the gamers have taken as a tool to improve their gaming. So we realize that these interactions can be translated into our praxis, and we can use them in order to get better and get faster for the learner to get into a better English usage. Finally, when we talk about game spaces, it is not only the games or the virtual reality that the gamers are into. We are talking about the spaces that the gaming happens. These days, the games have been around all over the world in tournaments or in different scenarios, and each interaction in there matters because it is made up by gamers, it is improved by gamers, and that it is what we want to sum up into our project. Get all the information about the gamer community and the usage of language, that as we have coined, language is a victory and language is a tool to overcome every reality. Now, let's go back for a little bit about the identity part. Remember that identity refers to the build of a person inside of community, and this identity, it is built up of the interactions, of the learning of everything that that person has to live and to become their own selves, and they are sharing that with other people. Let's say that their culture, their communities, their neighbors, even their friends. But we also need to realize that these days we are not only socializing with your neighbors or with someone that it is next to you. Today we are socializing with different cultures, with people from different countries, and all that create things inside you and create a different identity. So from our own selves, we have this identity that started as gamers, then we move into language learning, we become researchers, and we are about to be teachers that have this whole background that wants to be used in order to improve it. Because we have realized that the gamers have this facility to look for clues, look for improvement, and look for make it better every time. So we as researchers that are using this identity to become better teachers, we want to use all the context that we have faced during our lives, that we can take advantage of what we have learned and put it into practice, not only to help other teachers, but to get better of our students.
So, as you can see, our research explores definitions and notions related to the language, how we use the language to achieve a goal, and how we have created a conceptual framework um, about this. We have also talked about um, the notion of gamer identity, but it is also important to understand what is the meaning of a gamer and how this notion lead us to think about other concepts that we're going to explore in this presentation, right? So, what does being a gamer mean? That's the question. So, when it comes to talk about a gamer, or when it comes to defining about what a gamer is, there is no clear consensus to construct a comprehensive meaning. Commonly, the word gamer is used in gaming environments or is described in some social conceptions. But the truth is that a real understanding of what a gamer really is, or what a gamer really looks like, is missing. So it is important to understand that the concept of gamer goes beyond merely playing a video game, right? So when we refer to the word gamer, it is in fact a much larger and complex concept. So we can say that a gamer is a person who has moved just from playing video games um, to developing commitment to a game, and it also develops an extended participation in gaming communities. So commitment, it relates to like the a specific amount of time trying to learn more about the game. So such interests leads the gamer to gather information from both inside and outside the game and develop extended networks of learning, right? So um, then we have extended participation. So um, this means that the gamer is joining gaming communities outside the game. For example, the gamer joins forums, chat channels, or fanfic groups, competitive teams, just to name a few. So this notion of participation creates a sense of identity where gamers engage in a social interaction, and they enhance their um, gaming experiences, and they become more acquainted with the game knowledge, right? So part of our research at our team explores and analyzes the gamer identity. So in our team, And in our meetings, we have long discussed what being a gamer means for us, including what characteristics we consider essential when calling ourselves a gamer. So, from qualitative studies carried through virtual and online spaces, Team LEV, our team, has identified that a gamer is indeed bound to these concepts of commitment and extended participation. So we acknowledge that committed gamers are those who learn and train consciously using resources from the game, such as isotypes, lore, equipment, right? And from participating in social environments with other gamers in diverse contexts, both virtual and physical spaces. So, this has led us to think about what happens if a gamer enters the education field. So, here we can talk about the intersection between video games and education. Well, when we talk about video games and education, we can tell for sure how this conjunction has gained a great deal of traction in the past 2 decades. Um, since the first part of the century, there has been some notions about how much we can learn about video games in education. Some of these ideas have inspired scholars all over to think about the idea of gamification or bringing principles from video games into educational settings. In recent years, we have seen ideas around the use of gamification in everyday life, about teaching, and even about second language teaching, right? So, what makes our team quite particular is the fact that we are all gamers who are either becoming researchers or gamers who are already researchers, right? All of us have extensive background in gaming. We have experience from um, different ranges and different contexts, right? So all of this is essential to understand our work, right? Um, we think as gamers, but we also think as researchers. We try to explore the idea of how video games could bring essential features for language learning and teaching. For us, as researchers, we we think that video games are more than just entertainment. We as gamers, uh, we think critically about our identity, not only as players but also as second language users, and the fact that we are also becoming language educators. We believe that we need to embrace the experiences of gamers in our teaching education programs, so that we don't need to feel like in a split personality situation where we must relinquish our gaming identities to become teachers, but instead embrace them and gamify our teaching from within. So now let's talk about the notion of gamers as second language teachers. So today teachers are facing challenges concerning to the new generation of learners and the late advances of technology, and this influences the way education is conceived in a way. Uh, all these challenges have transformed the teacher's role in terms of communication, interaction, about how we think about teaching strategies, right? So the idea of gamers as second language teachers becomes a particular initiative of gamification. This allows that new interpretation of classroom practices, um, where gamer teachers could use their gaming background to provide new methods and new class designs for current and future generation of learners, right? So from that point of view, uh, in our team, we argue that when we talk about gamers as second language teachers, or those pre-service teachers and in-service teachers with strong gaming experiences, this can provide new forms to perceive the teacher's role. And this will be possible by expanding the classroom experiences as they bring different settings from the virtual spaces, such as video games, in second language learning spaces, right? So the idea of gamifying the classroom condition, or the classroom condition, shows like an innovative or different ways to teach. So from gaming practices, teachers can update or adapt new learning strategies for second language teaching, right? So if they use those gaming elements provided by the gaming spaces, they can find and appropriate new directions to enhance second language education, right? So this concept of second language, the gamers as second language teachers, provides large and interesting lines to approach language studies. Seeing that the field of second language learning and teaching keeps expanding, we need to understand the role of language educators, as they will take place on teaching the future learners generation of the 21st century, basically, right? So now let's move on to some considerations we have for teachers. I think there are some learning and teaching implications that LEV wants to share with all of you. So first of all, we we need to say that video games are a good example of global understanding and communication. Gamers are constantly using language to learn from diverse cultures as they speak and interact with diverse uh, community contexts. So, video games help gamers to improve their literacy skills. With all these kinds of interactions, uh, and all these interactions work as a learning process when communicating and participating in different spaces, right? So gamers engage with second languages when playing games in very diverse ways, and understanding these interactions opens possibilities to think how we can improve language instruction. So there are things that gamers do in their practices that teachers can implement in their classroom, and this is an issue that becomes even more pressing as there are gamers becoming language teachers, right? So in addition, and I think learning how gamers approach social interactions to be more aware of in-game situations can benefit language learning and teaching. We need to help our learners to navigate physical and virtual spaces through their second languages. Um, so thanks to the organic relationship between gamers and language use, assessing how they can improve their proficiency level and what practices can benefit language learning in schools and non other uh, academic contexts. And as a final thought, I would like to read you this uh, quote from some of our researchers. We continue to seek the potential for language learning that video games have to offer. Our inquiries are also providing powerful blueprints for how to bring key elements of gaming that language teacher and teacher educators can appropriate in their classroom literacy practices. So this is some of the work that we have developed in our team, um, and this was all for our presentation. We thank you all for being here and listening to us. Um, Thank you for participating in our presentation. If you have any question, or if you want to know more about our um, research, about our different projects, there you can see some of our social media, and you can find uh, all our work in our webpage. We have all our publications. We have information about our current members, their different roles, and more stuff like that. So if you want, just make sure to take a look. So thanks again, and have a great day. Goodbye.